Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hub World podcast. Today, we are going to be continuing our System Essentials series. I'll tell you more about that in a sec. First, introductions. My name is Jules, and today I'm joined by
Matteo
and Gino.
And today, we are going to be determining the Nintendo DS Essential Games. So, for those of you who have caught our System Essentials series in the past, this is, I think, our 5th episode. And what we do in our System Essentials is we look at a system, in this case, a handheld system, and we try to determine what the 5 most essential games from that system are. To do this, we kind of go in a talking order. We nominate some games. We talk about why we think they're the essential picks for the system. And then we have a big, large list. And from that large list, we'll deliberate and narrow down the 5 essential games. Now, when we talk about essential, we're talking about the games that we at the Hub World have played. So we know that some of you might be like, well, why wasn't my favorite game mentioned? It might just be that we haven't played it, and we're not trying to say that these are the definitive 5 games that everybody has to play. We're just kind of giving a recommendation here based off of what we've played as a group. In terms of determining what those 5 games are, we like to look at the list variety. Like we don't want to have like 5 RPGs or 5 platformers. We do want to give you 5 games that are somewhat different. We also probably won't include things like remakes or ports because we might not feel that those are really essential to that system, as well as we want to recommend games to you that you're actually going to be able to play. So if a game isn't really widely available anymore and the only way you're going to get it is by dropping $700 to find a cartridge of it, we might not consider it. So just giving you a heads up on how we determine those things. But ultimately, what we are going to do is we're going to break down what we think are the 5 essential DS games. And with that, do you think we're ready to start, guys?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's get right into it. So we're going to start with our nominations. We're going to go in a speaking order and just kind of create a list here. And eventually we'll stop and deliberate. So let's see. I have a big list here.
Can I start?
You know what, Gino? Let's shake it up. Why don't you start? I'll go second, and then Matteo can go.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of just splits up Matteo and my perspective instead of like Matteo saying something and me just being like echo, 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 echo.
That's fair.
Yeah. So I know Matteo is going to very much agree with me on this. And the Nintendo DS was a console dominated by Pokemon. There were 2 generations, various third versions, spin-offs, and remakes for this series, and I want to just start off with the Gen 2 remakes for Pokemon as my nomination. Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Collectively, I think in our group of friends alone, I could with confidence say that we dropped thousands of hours into any Pokemon games on the lifespan of the DS, starting from like Diamond and Pearl, then going into Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and the Black and White series games as well. My personal favorite is Heart Gold, Soul Silver because it brought me back to my childhood in my high school years, and I was able to play through the Gen 2 games in a much better pixel style with all the added quality of life features that Gen 3 and Gen 4 added to the main series Pokemon games, like having abilities and the battle system being revamped and everything. And if you want to hear more about our thoughts on the Pokemon systems and the Pokemon games themselves, we do have our own separate episode on this topic, but Heart Gold and Soul Silver really stand out because it was Gen 4, but just skinned as the Gen 2 games that a lot of OG Pokemon fans really, really love. We love our Johto region. We love going back to the Kanto region, and you could play with a team of all your favorite Pokemon going from Gens 1 through 4 at the time. And I thought that this game was just absolutely beautifully done. The pixel art, and it was great. And it even had a little item that you could get that would change all of the new sounds and music that they had into the original Game Boy sounds, which was a nice little thing that they added for the veteran fans of the original games as like a post-game thing, kind of like an Easter egg after you've had done everything. And I thought it was really, really nice. And it was cool to see the Johto love previously in the Gen 4 games with Diamond and Pearl, because there had a lot of like Sinnoh and Johto were very connected in a lot of things. Like they added the new unknown forms. They had a lot of like the different lakes and everything, the tied back to the Lake of Rage. You actually saw like your player character was watching like a home video or like a news report about the Red Gyarados in the Lake of Rage right at the very beginning of Diamond and Pearl. And just like Johto had such a it just has such a special heart. I'm going to say Heart Gold over Soul Silver because I had Gold version growing up, but that's where I want to start off.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if we're starting off with Pokemon, we might as well just carry this conversation through.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll also nominate Pokemon Platinum, which is the third version of the fourth generation of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl are fantastic games. They're getting their remakes this year, and they are arguably some of the best Pokemon games. And Pokemon Platinum, that third version, is just the peak of that. Like it's such an incredible version of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. It includes everything that Pokemon Diamond and Pearl has, but with such a big spin, such an elaborate post game. And there's definitely, as Gino was kind of saying, there's even more connections to Johto because I think at that point they knew that Johto was coming, and so there was a lot more placed in there to connect to what was coming in the future. And like I still like would argue that Gen 4 has some of the best Pokemon designs, has some of the best gym leaders, one of the best regions, definitely the best lore in all of Pokemon. It was such an elevation for Pokemon as a franchise because it really just took it to the next level and really just looked at exploring Pokemon in a way that was never explored before. These weren't just like pocket monsters, these like little creatures that you catch. Like suddenly there was like a deep, profound like mythos to how they came to be and how the world came to be. And just the best way to call it was a legendary Pokemon gen because it had a lot of legendaries and because it was so focused on the legendary mythos. And I really like that about Pokemon Platinum. And then like little things like the gym leader cafe, like that I would go back every day and play and see who was in there and battle the gym leaders again. Things like, I can't remember what it was called, but I'm pretty sure it had the feature where you could re-battle trainers.
Oh, was that on the watch thing?
Yeah.
The Versus Seeker, right?
No.
That it could no, it's the I'm blanking on the name. I was just literally thinking about it today. The Dex Nav.
Yeah.
No, is that
maybe?
Dex Nav? Is that the
No, I
whatever
think
the
the
watch
Dex-
is on the bottom of the touchscreen, right?
It was a Poketch.
Yeah.
It was called Poketch.
Poketch was the watch,
Yeah.
exactly.
So yeah, but like there was a lot of cool stuff there. It was just a very phenomenal game. So I as much as I also agree Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver is arguably one of the best Pokemon games, I also argue that Pokemon Platinum is up there as well. And I know that deliberation is going to be tough at the end of this podcast, but I think it's worth mentioning that as well.
The Pokemon series, there's so many games to pick from here. All of them are fantastic. Like I think honestly the one thing we can definitively say, at least I can definitively say this, is that the Pokemon series, or as of now, its peak was on DS.
I would agree. I would be inclined to agree.
There's 3 games on DS that you can say are potentially the greatest Pokemon games ever made. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say like I want to talk about Diamond and Pearl just for the sentimental value I have towards it. Diamond, it might still be one of my most played games of all time. Put so much time into that game. It was my first DS game after like 3 years of not being allowed to play on Gino's DS. I finally needed my own, and I got the DS on my birthday in like 2007. And Pokemon Diamond was my first game, and I just adored that game. And I said it before in our Pokemon episode, but like Gen 4 was the first generation of Pokemon that I went into blind. It's the only generation of Pokemon I went into blind, not knowing anything. So everything was a surprise to me in that game. It was such a pure experience that I'll never be able to replicate because like I didn't go on the internet back then to like look up Pokemon spoilers like I do now. There's no Twitter. There was nothing like that to get spoiled, and no Reddit, anything like that. For that reason, like Platinum, like I play Platinum, I adore Platinum as well. So like I'm not going to dominate Diamond and Pearl for that. I have Pokemon Conquest.
Oh damn, I forgot about that game.
I bought it like 10 years ago at EB Games, and I still haven't played it. Sitting on the shelf.
You should. I bought it day one and I sold it and I regret it.
I'm sure if I played it, I would have enjoyed it and nominated it. And like the only mystery dungeon game I played on DS was Blue Rescue Team. So I don't really have any other Pokemon games to nominate.
Well, then do you want me to close off Pokemon?
Yeah, go ahead.
So then I will close off Pokemon then by also nominating Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time, and Explorers of Darkness. You could say Explorers of the Sky, which was the third version, but I'm just going to go with the originals here. The Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series hit its peak with those games. Like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team and Red Rescue Team are really great. We talked about them in our GBA Essentials, but like the sequel was everything that the first one was, just like taken into overdrive. They added a ton of features. They added the 4th generation of Pokemon, which gave a bigger variety of characters, including all that lore that came with all those Pokemon, right? Like it was significant adding Gen 4, even though it was just one generation of Pokemon, because the amount of legendaries in existence basically doubled when you add Gen 4, because Gen 4 introduced like 20 new legendaries, and the lore behind those Pokemon just allowed the plot to do like incredible things. Like it's a whole it's a time travel plot. Like it's really, really well done. It was one of the first games to ever make me cry at the very end. Like it was beautifully done in terms of a Pokemon game. Probably one of the darker stories. Like it's not dark by any merit, but for Pokemon it is. In terms of the themes it explores, and just overall, like it's such a fun game with like really likable characters, giving Pokemon, like I talked about this again like in the GBA Essentials, but giving these Pokemon these roles that fit their personalities, like Persian being the banker and Kecleon being the store runner, and then you got like Wigglytuff is in charge of this troop of explorers, and you join it, and it's such a fantastic game. Definitely one of the highlights of my time with the DS, and I loved that game. I think I played that game more than any other game on my DS. So I definitely want to nominate that one.
We're going to close out the Pokemon segment of our nominations, at least.
I mean, I will just, on the tail end, just before I did play the other 3 Pokemon spin-offs on DS.
Was Ranger any good?
I played Pokemon Ranger. Ranger is fun. I don't think it deserves to be nominated because it's pretty average, but I do appreciate it for what it was. It was cool. Pokemon Conquest is really good. I haven't played it in a long time because I got it when it launched. I played it and then I sold it, so I never got to play it again. But I remember thinking it was really great because it was just like a Pokemon Fire Emblem, and it was pretty cool. And then I also played Pokemon Dash. I bought that day one, and I can tell you that is not one of the games that that contributed to the domination of Pokemon in the DS era. That game was, not only was that game awful, that game destroyed my first DS's screen before I even, because it was like the second game I bought on that system. My screen for the DS was destroyed before I even got to my third game, because that game just required you to constantly scratch the screen. Oh, it sucked. It was awful.
Okay, moving on from Pokemon to another series. Next item I got on my list here was one that's not going to be as like hard to pick for. I think this might be a bit of a sleeper. You guys might not have it. I have Kirby Squeak Squad.
I do have it, but continue.
I do as well.
Oh shoot! Okay, here I was thinking that I was going to be original for once, because like there was a reason why Yako didn't give it back to me for like 7 years. Like he borrowed it and just never gave it back.
There's a reason I own 2 copies of that game for some reason. I don't know why.
But yeah, I had a lot of fun with Kirby Squeak Squad. It was really like honestly like my first true Kirby game. I'd never played really any of the other ones outside of like maybe Kirby's Dream Land 3 on like an emulator or something, or like Crystal Shards. But like this is the first one that I started and completed and had a lot of fun with it. They made Kirby's belly like your inventory, so you could suck up lots of enemies. And like you could store their powers for later. So if you got hit in the middle of a level, you could just give yourself sword or give yourself fire. And you could also combine certain things like fire sword, electric sword, and I think hammer was in there also. The Squeaks as a villainous squad, like every Kirby game, they get introduced because they stole Kirby's food. They stole Kirby's cake. And Kirby went on a vendetta against these little mice, the Squeaks. They're like a trove of bandits. Darosh the mouse was quite interesting, and it kind of like captured those like Meta Knight vibes. Where like, okay, it's got like this trench coat, it's got a hat, and he's kind of mischievous, and he's got this magic wand.
He's one of my favorite Kirby villains, like period.
Yeah.
His design is so good too.
Yeah, and the rest of the Squeaks were also quite good too. You had like the crazy doctor in the UFO. You had the really big guy as well, and like there was the baby one, and there was also the lady one. Also, they were not as out there, but like the Squeaks themselves they served as your like Krakow. They served as your DDD. like those types of villains. And it was just a bunch of new characters, and it got kind of dark when like Darosh got possessed towards the end. I don't want to spoil like too much story reason, but like the cool edgy villain got even more edgy, and it turned into, okay, Kirby chasing after these lovable villains, and then it turned into like a nightmare kind of scenario with like some of like the galactic horror stuff that Kirby has to deal with on a regular basis. I don't know, the gameplay was good, the level design was fun, it was a cute atmosphere, and all in all, really tight gameplay.
Well, about the gameplay, Kirby Squeak Squad, I'm pretty sure was like the first Kirby game that really expanded the copy ability movesets with the addition of the scrolls that you could collect in the game. The scrolls would, I think, they were hidden within the chests. Like each level had, I don't remember,
It
previous
was like
Kirby games had
three
these.
chests. Three
Yeah,
chests.
there was like one massive chest and then a few small chests scattered throughout the level, hidden in various places that added length and a little bit of difficulty to the game. And in those chests, you would find the hidden scrolls that would like add extra moves to all the copy abilities that are in the game.
I think you could even get cosmetic things as well, like in a time
Yeah.
of in a time in video
Mhm.
games where you could unlock cosmetics without opening your wallet.
There were colors.
Brown Kirby is the best.
In Squeak Squad, like you would have these upgraded movesets because of the scrolls, but in future Kirby games, the scrolls don't exist anymore because all those expanded movesets are just there from the get-go. Like I think that is a really underrated addition that Squeak Squad had to the Kirby formula. It made the combat more compelling. But yeah, like Squeak Squad, I think it's my favorite Kirby game.
Ultimately, what it is like about Squeak Squad that I feel is appealing is that Kirby as a series is very experimental, and Kirby goes through a lot of different gameplay types. And Kirby Squeak Squad really felt like the first true sequel to Kirby's Adventure,
Yeah.
because it was the first time that Kirby actually just had like a traditional linear level based platformer that didn't have like a massive change in the gameplay. Because even the closest thing to that would have been Kirby 64, but Kirby 64 had such a massive gameplay change that it, like, I wouldn't call it a sequel to Adventure the way I would call Squeak Squad a sequel to Adventure. So I guess that's Squeak Squad. So Matteo, do you have a nomination?
Yes, I do. And like I said prior to when we were talking about Pokemon, how Pokemon Diamond was my most played DS game. I think easily my second most played DS game, and one of my favorite games in this series is Mario Kart DS. Mario Kart DS is the best handheld Mario Kart game ever made. Like, it might even be one of the best Mario Kart games, period. The course design in that game is fantastic. Like, we've had iconic Mario Kart maps or courses introduced in that game, like Cheap Cheap Beach, Luigi's Mansion, Waluigi Pinball, Delfino Square, like so many big, like Peach Garden, so many really awesome Mario Kart tracks were introduced in this game. Not to mention, it was the first Mario Kart game to really add retro cups and retro courses.
True.
Mario Kart GBA, a Super Circuit, that game is not great in my eyes, but one thing it did add was it added the SNES tracks. Whereas this game, you had N64, SNES, and Double Dash maps on the system, or on the game. Also was the first Mario Kart game to have online, even though you can't play the online today, like it's still a pretty significant thing in Mario Kart or Nintendo history also, because like I don't think there was very few Nintendo games before it that came out that had a multiplayer. You had customizable character, like every character had like 3 or 4, I think, customizable, like their own unique carts, which was really cool. The single player content was pretty sizable, like I said, with 16 or yeah, with the 8 cups, plus they had a mission mode, which was really awesome. And also, like, you could customize your own logos and stuff to put on your carts. It was, all in all, like, honestly, Mario Kart DS gets really overlooked, I think. And the fact that, like, friggin' Rob was a playable character in it. Like, there's so many awesome things in this game that, like, I want to go back and play it to see if it holds up as well as I think it does. And I feel like it will. But like, remember, like after Mario Kart DS came out, that's when they started adding the motorbikes, the glide, underwater, zero gravity, all that stuff that like took Mario Kart to the next level in terms of scope and stuff like that. So like this might be realistically like it could be considered the last like traditional classic Mario Kart experience. So
Yeah.
it holds a really special place in my heart for that, to be honest with you.
I just want to add one small thing. For the mission mode, Mateo, there was also boss battles, so you could fight like King
Yeah,
Goomba, King Bob-omb, King Boo.
Big Bully.
Yeah, all those types of things, like in the middle of the mission modes, and that's something that I really wish. And like we've talked about this for like the in the future of Mario Kart episode that we did. Wow, lots of plugs today. Wow, okay,
Yeah.
that's like what 3 or 4, right? But yeah, like we talked about this in the future of Mario Kart episode, where like we really wish that like the mission modes like kind of stuff would come back for unlocking cosmetics instead of using just like the virtual slot machine like they have in Mario Kart 8 and 8 Deluxe. So that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Just a small addendum. Jules, what about you?
Well, so I'm gonna kind of take us back a little bit to Kirby. So for all the like, I like Kirby Squeak Squad. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite Kirby games, but I like it, and I do have fond memories of it. Now, part of the reason that I don't consider it to be one of the best Kirby games is for the reasons we were talking about. Like, it is a very traditional Kirby game, and there's so many traditional Kirby games, but Kirby does go through a lot of experimental phases, and some of them don't work, and some of them really do. And one of the ones that really, really worked is Kirby Canvas Curse. And I don't know if you guys have played Kirby Canvas Curse, but that game is fantastic. Like, in terms of thinking about what the DS is as a system, in terms of the touchscreen being the big sell, that game used the touchscreen in such an incredible way. And that game is like, it is not a Kirby game by any means. I would not call it a Kirby games in terms of gameplay, and I think that's why a lot of people forget about it. But that game is really, really well done and really well made, and it's a very incredible like DS unique experience that I think really makes it worthy of talking about it on this list, because it's not something you can go play somewhere else. It's really a DS game. And that game was full of content. There was so much to do. There were tons of levels. There were tons of playable characters. You could unlock Meta Knight and you could unlock King Diddy in the game and replay the games with them. And they had different abilities. Like King Diddy's ball was bigger, so it was harder to like maneuver him. And Meta Knight would attack when he ran into things and like stuff like that. And there was like tons of unlockables, tons of same thing as like Squeak Squad. Like there was a lot to do that was just like collectathon kind of stuff. But that overall gameplay of using the stylus to like draw paths and like move Kirby through the level that way was really just well done. And they tried to do it again with Kirby and the Rainbow Curse on Wii U, and it was not well done. It was very much Canvas Curse light. But Canvas Curse is a very strong game, and I thought it should be mentioned.
Yeah, that's one of those games that like I really wish I did play because I think I would really like it. There's a lot of games like that on DS, but I was just too busy playing Pokemon Diamond and Mario Kart.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't play that much, but what can you do?
Okay, Gino, your turn.
Ooh, okay. Now, Giuliano, I think you will have one of these games on your list. It's not going to be the one that you think it is. I'm going to go out and nominate Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story.
That is the one I thought it would be.
Really?
That is definitely the one I thought
like,
you would say.
You are the Partners in Time fan here.
No, I know that's I'm saying in terms of me thinking what you would nominate, I absolutely thought you would nominate that.
Yeah. As much as I loved Partners in Time, there were just too many buttons to push all the time. So you had to manage your A, B, and your X and Y for the babies' attacks. Like when Mario and Luigi were separated from the babies, I found the game was way better than when they were with, just because there was just less buttons to push on the screen.
We don't need to slam Partners in Time. Why don't you just talk about Bowser's Inside Story?
Bowser's Inside Story simplified all of that. You had your Mario and Luigi gameplay, your traditional stuff from like the Game Boy and the Partners in Time saga, but you also had like the first time you could actually play as Bowser, and it really like outside of the GameCube and playing as Bowser in those 2D segments in Mario, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. Bowser was a full-on playable character, had his own abilities, kind of carried on that similar kind of like, I'm Bowser, I'm arrogant, and like, who the heck are you to think that you can be better than me? And just like, he was just a lovable oaf, as well as being like the big tough guy. And I really, really enjoy seeing Bowser's personality in the Mario RPG games, whether it be through Mario and Luigi or whether it be through Paper Mario, because he steals the show every time. And this time, you got to see a little bit more than what Bowser externalizes. You literally got to go and see his insides. And what really makes Bowser tick as a character. And I just thought it was just such a unique experience, because like you have Mario and Luigi going inside of Bowser and literally being like steroids and like powering him up to like do certain things. Like they strike his neurons in a specific way inside of his brain that like does something to trigger his body to like get some kind of response. And just really good gameplay. You could as Mario and Luigi, you could also leave Bowser, do a few little things, and as they were separate entities, they had like almost two different stories going on that eventually did converge. And the final boss I found was really, really cool.
Also, I'd like to add, for the reasons you said, obviously, Bowser's Inside Story was also the debut of the greatest Mario character of all time, Broke Monsieur.
Oh my
So-
god, yes.
Broke Monsieur is
Monsieur.
quite the character.
Bowser's Inside Story is my favorite Mario and Luigi game. Was that also the first game that you could like turn the DS sideways and have like those mega
Yes.
battles?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It was.
Really loved those.
I
So-
will just say, while I've always agreed that Bowser's Inside Story is the best Mario and Luigi game, although my favorite one is Partners in Time. I am going to say anybody go play Partners in Time. I'm not going to bother putting it on the short list because I think in our deliberation, even I won't vouch for it as the stronger one. But if you're interested in Mario and Luigi at all, that's also one to go play. It's also the only one that hasn't been remade. So if you're going to go back to DS and play one of them.
Yep.
Yeah, and then like I wasn't meaning to knock on, I wasn't meaning to like rip on Partners in Time, because like that was the game that got me really into the Mario and Luigi series.
No, I see
It's
how it
just-
is. No,
yeah,
I
like
see.
just
No,
yeah,
I
just
see.
as like when I was playing it when I was younger, it was just I felt there was a lot of buttons to like manage, especially in the part like when all four of the bros were on screen doing stuff. It was just a
Well,
little bit.
in the great wise words of our dear friend Gino, get good.
See, I knew that was coming.
But that's okay. Matteo, do you have a nomination?
Yes, I do. I'm running out of them because I also was going to nominate Bowser's Inside Story, but
Crap, sorry, Matteo.
so I'm going to go I'm going to nominate a very hidden gem on DS that I think gets way too much hate, and I honestly don't understand where this hate comes from, because this game is fantastic, and that is Wario Master of Disguise.
Yes.
Oh my god.
I don't. Jules, are you one of those people that just don't like Wario Master of Disguise?
No, I really like Wario Master of Disguise. I'm just surprised we're nominating it for this list.
I don't have any games to nominate
Go ahead,
anymore.
keep going. Keep going.
This was an honorable mention of mine. The only ones I have left are honorable mentions. But Wario Master of Disguise is a fantastic 2D platformer. I love the fact that like Wario can now like you get like he basically puts costumes on and gets those abilities, and like you use the touchscreen in a really neat way to like put the costumes on. Count Cannoli is a fantastic character as well, and I just love the kind of relationship that Wario and Count Cannoli has. And Wario is the villain of this game. Like, let's be real here. Like, I just find that it's hilarious that you're playing as the villain in the game, and Count Cannoli's trying to stop Wario. It's
Yeah.
it's so good. It honestly, it's a like I said, it's a hidden gem. The
The
platforming
humor's
is
really good.
yeah, it's if you like Wario Land, the Wario Land platformers, you'll really like Master of Disguise. I think it's so good. Just I don't have very much more to say about it. It's been a very long time since I played it, but
Okay. Well, I wasn't going to nominate this one next, but I think it's topical now. I'm going to nominate WarioWare Touched. WarioWare Touched is, in my opinion, as a very big WarioWare fan, the best WarioWare game. Like, I don't even think it's a contest. WarioWare Touch is the peak of WarioWare. The touchscreen, and especially the novelty of the touchscreen at the time, lended itself so well to Warioware. Like it was a match made in heaven. And so like they really did a great job, and I really feel like every other WarioWare game since has just been trying to be that game and has not been able to do it. But that is honestly, in my opinion, the best WarioWare game and one of the best experiences on Nintendo DS, hands down for me. Like I love WarioWare Touch. And I think it's just again, like Kirby's Canvas Curse, it's one of those games that you're not getting that experience elsewhere. You are only getting that experience on the Nintendo DS, and I really appreciated it for that. Okay, Gino, do you have a nomination?
Nah, I'm good. I don't have any.
Oh, okay, you're done. Okay,
Yeah.
Interesting. Mateo, go ahead.
So it'd go back to me. Okay. All right. So the Legend of Zelda series on DS has an incredible high on DS, but it is also an incredible low. And I'm not here to talk about Phantom Hourglass because that game's just not good. But to me, Spirit Tracks redeemed the Touch Zelda gameplay on DS. Really, I played through it. I avoided it because I felt super burnt by Phantom Hourglass, so I avoided it for a long time. I ended up picking the game up really cheap because I wanted it for my collection, and I was in a Zelda mood around the time Breath of the Wild came out, and I actually played Spirit Tracks slightly before Breath of the Wild came out, and I really enjoyed it. And I think it's because you spent a lot of time in the train in that game, but honestly, it didn't feel as boring and mindless as the boat was in Phantom Hourglass. And also the fact you didn't have to go back to one location over and over and over and over again like you did in Phantom Hourglass. I felt the dungeon design and the items in Spirit Tracks was better. I love the Spirit Train theme. That song is magical. And Smash Bros. Really made me like that song a lot more. But if you want to play the two games, I would not suggest Phantom Hourglass at all. Spirit Tracks is the better game from beginning to end, and I'm pretty sure we're probably not going to end up putting it on the Essentials list, but I would like to at least just recognize its greatness. So, but yeah, Spirit Tracks is my last nomination.
Okay. Well, if you guys are done now on nominations, so I'm looking at my list of games I still have written, and I have 11 games written that we haven't talked about. Now, I've deliberated that I'm comfortable with 5 of these just being honorable mentions, but there's 6 of them I gotta mention, and I'm sorry, but I'm gonna talk a lot here. And I think some of them you guys will agree with me. I think you just forgot to mention them. But
there's one game I'm purposely not mentioning because I don't like it.
I have 2 games on my honorable mentions that I didn't want to say just
don't worry,
because
let
every
me talk
subsequent
about them.
version's better.
Let me talk about them, okay? Because I know what game both of you are referring to, and I'm going to say why I think both of those games deserves to be here, not only on the short list, but potentially on the final list. So the first one I'm going to nominate, which I assume is the one Gino was referring to, is Animal Crossing Wild World.
Yup.
Now, Animal Crossing Wild World, I'm not going to say what Gino said isn't true, that every subsequent version isn't necessarily better, but Wild World did more for this series than anything has until New Horizons. Wild World took the original game and added so much. Like when I think of my fond memories of Animal Crossing, Wild World I have the fondest memories with, because it added a ton. The customization was completely overhauled, something that wasn't changed again until New Horizons. The way that the world map functioned was changed, so it was like one big world. They added more to the villager personalities in the dialogue that didn't exist in the original version, and is still a staple now, that they haven't altered very much since Wild World, as well as the introduction of a lot of, like, that's where Nintendo, well, actually no, Nintendo items exist in the original too, but they took it to the next level in Wild World. They added things like the slingshot, they added way more fish and bugs and museum things, the cafe. I really believe Wild World is the real dawn of Animal Crossing, and I think it deserves to be mentioned for that reason. The second game I have on here, which I know is the one Mateo was referring to, and I'm going to adamantly argue against what I feel he feels about this game is New Super Mario Bros. New Super Mario Bros. Is looked at as this awful series now. And my argument against that is the only reason that happened is because they made so many of them. But the first New Super Mario Bros. Game was incredible. And I remember when it came out, it was the shit. Everybody was like, holy crap, there's a new mainline Mario game. It was well done. The bosses were cool. It wasn't just like the new ones where like all the bosses are the same. Like the bosses were different. They were cool. That was the introduction of Dry Bowser as a character. Bowser Jr. started to take more of a prominence in that game and has ever since. And while some people don't like the new Super Mario Bros. Version of gameplay, I still argue that it is some of the tightest Mario gameplay. It's just gotten old because there have been so many sequels because of the success of that first one. But I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with the first one. The first one was really great. And it was the first true Mario sequel, like 2D Mario sequel, since Super Mario World. So I think it deserves to be mentioned and considered.
I will refrain my rebuttal until the deliberation.
Sure.
So
The other one I want to mention is Custom Robo Arena. Custom Robo as a Nintendo series has completely died out, which is fair. It was kind of obscure, but Custom Robo Arena is an incredible, incredible game. And while it was the end of the series, it also was the peak of that series. Like it is basically like as in depth as a Pokemon game in terms of how that story and the RPG elements and like the game like actually progresses. I don't know if you guys have actually played it. I know you own it, but I don't know if you've played through it. But it's like really great. I've played through it multiple times. The story is charming.
Mateo's really defensive about Custom Robo, especially
I
when
know.
Riley's concerned.
Yes, I know.
that event that I will not say in the podcast has turned me off from that game.
Nothing to do with the game
I
itself.
have yet to play it.
You have a completely subjective experience just to do with how you purchase the game that has no merit on what the game is like. But
I know.
It's a very, very great game. There's tons of customization. The gameplay of Custom Robo is really awesome. There's a lot of strategy involved. There's a lot of just like experimentation involved. And there's just a lot to do in that game. And I really, really liked the story. I just like, it felt like Pokemon. That's what I loved about it is I played the original one on GameCube, and the shortcomings of that version of the game was it felt like tonally, it felt strange. But like this one really just felt like I was playing a Pokemon game with different gameplay, and that was really just fun to me. So I want to mention that one. Okay, ready for my other three? Four?
Jules, can I
Sorry.
guess? Can I guess what one of them will be?
I mean,
Does it involve 3 cloaked figures on a clock tower?
I'm not mentioning the potentially worst Kingdom Hearts game.
Okay.
I love the game. I love the story, but it's not. No. So I have 4 more, and I'm pretty sure you guys have not played these games, but I would feel uncomfortable not mentioning them when we're talking about the DS. So the first one is something I actually mentioned back in the GBA one that I was mistaken about where it actually existed first, but this is where I played it first. And I thought it existed on the GBA, but it apparently did not. But Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, is a fantastic series. It is one of the staples of Nintendo DS, especially when you expand outside of the Nintendo first parties. And it's like a digital novel, but it adds that layer of like mystery and like being a detective. And when I played it, it was unlike anything I'd ever played before. It really just felt like I was experiencing a story, and I'd never played anything like that in my life. And it lent itself well to a touchscreen. Like it's another one of those games that just like doing the investigations and looking around the room for clues and stuff just like worked really well with the touchscreen. And the characters are fun, they're interesting. There's like ultimately it's in a way a puzzle game because you're trying to figure out the holes in each of these different people's stories using data that you've collected, and like you need to know the time to like interrupt them and slam down your evidence and stuff. And it was really good, and the stories are really, really great. Now I haven't played all of them. I've only played the first one, so that's the one I'm going to nominate. But it's a really great series, and like even my roommate right now is playing the new one that just launched on Switch, the Great Ace Attorney, which is his like descendant or his ancestor, who interacted with Sherlock Holmes, or as they call him in the game, Herlock Sholmes. But he's currently on chapter that is called The Hound of the Baskervilles, and I'm just like so interested. I'm like, I kind of want to play this because it's just very cool the way that they approach mystery, and it like just feels that way.
That's one series I actually really want to get into. So
You should. And you can get the trilogy fairly cheap on
yep,
on Switch.
on Switch. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the second one is another staple to the Nintendo DS that I've played that I really like. And again, I've only played one of these games, so I'm going to nominate the one that I've played. But Professor Layton and the Curious Village. Professor Layton is a puzzle game. It's just completely puzzles. There's a story around it. Again, there's like a mystery very similar to Phoenix Wright. But it's more like, rather than the puzzles being like following a narrative, the puzzles are just like individual puzzles and trying to solve them. You have to solve so many of them to progress. Now, that game is another game that just lends itself well to the Nintendo DS touchscreen. It's like all of the puzzles are done by using the touchscreen, whether they be like logic-based ones or math-based ones, or like some are just like riddles. And it's one of those games that's just, again, like unlike most of the games you've probably experienced. They're just very intuitive and they make you feel smart. That's what I love about both Phoenix Wright and Professor Layton, is like when you achieve something, you feel validated, you feel intelligent, you feel like you solved something. And that's something that I don't often get in games unless I'm playing something like Zelda, but most of the puzzles in Zelda aren't that intuitive. So those two games I feel are definitely games to think about. Okay, you ready for my last two?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so this one, again, another game I think I've played that you guys haven't played, but Rhythm Heaven.
Yeah. I've actually played Rhythm Heaven.
So this is another one. Like when I say like WarioWare was its best on the DS, Rhythm Heaven is another one of those ones that just worked with the DS, because Rhythm Heaven is essentially WarioWare, except all the micro games also have a musical aspect to them.
Is that the one where like Beyonce was in the commercial?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
Random
that's
tidbit.
and that's the thing, is like our group of friends is very into music. Like that's part of what like gets us into like Zelda and like a lot of the Nintendo games, is like music is such a core element, and Rhythm Heaven is like the epitome of that. It's like it's really just like feeling the music and like using that toward the games, and like it's just so fun. Like it's such a blast, Rhythm Heaven. Like if you haven't played it, it's one of those games that you just need to experience. It's so good. Unless you don't have rhythm. If you don't have rhythm, don't bother. Like if you can acknowledge you don't have rhythm, probably don't play Rhythm Heaven.
I actually found like a R4 card like on the ground one day at work. I picked it up, cleaned it, put it in my DS. Rhythm Heaven was on there, but it was the Japanese, so I had no idea like what the menus were, and I was able to play through a good amount of the games. I had a good time, but like not a full enough experience in which I was like comfortable nominating it. But it was still really enjoyable. But it was made by the Intelligent Systems as well, right? So
Yeah.
they made very similar games like that on DS with WarioWare and with Rhythm Heaven, which is really cool.
Yep. So okay, I have one last one that I need to nominate, and then we
Is
can
it
go into
Winx
honorable
Club?
mentions. It's not Wings Club. And now this game is very arguably one of the best games on Nintendo DS. Like it just is, and I will die on that hill. The World Ends With You is built for DS. Looks like a moving anime. The tone, the themes, the characters. It's basically it's like edgy Kingdom Hearts set in Shibuya, and the gameplay is like it's this RPG touchscreen based gameplay where you're using, like, you're leveling up these pins and you're leveling up these powers, but the way to control them is by using the touch screen to activate them. And it's really, the gameplay is just fun. It's like it's fun while also being like strategy and puzzle based. The overworld is all a puzzle. You're trying to figure things out. It's like taking that Phoenix Wright Professor Layton gameplay and like adding an RPG element and like a combat system onto it, and it's just incredible. I can't explain it more than that. Like it's just an incredible game. So those are my nominations.
I'm honestly surprised no one said Mario Hoops 3-on-3. I wanted to put that out as an honorable mention.
I have it on my honorable mentions.
I love that game, but it was like, it's not going to make it on. So I figured one of you guys would say it, but
why don't we do some honorable mentions now, just to to just let the listeners know some other games to check out.
So, future Matteo would want me to mention Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. So, I'm just going to put that in there.
Current Giuliano would like to detest that and say Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon is one of the weaker Fire Emblem games.
Really?
But yeah, it's not the best. But if you like Fire Emblem, that is the best way to play Mars story ultimately. Yeah. And what else, Mateo? Just say all your honorable mentions.
That's it. Mario Hoops and Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon.
Okay.
I said I put Wario Master of Disguise and Spirit Tracks in my actual nominations list, but that's fine.
Okay,
yeah,
Gino.
It's because we played way too much Pokemon. Honestly, like we didn't really like experience like the rest of the DS libraries because we got really into Pokemon.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
So,
and like
Gino,
the other thing though, I just remembered that there were also 3 really solid Castlevania games on DS that we haven't played, like there was on Game Boy Advance. So just wanted to get that out there.
That's okay.
As well.
Wait, the listeners know we haven't played everything, so
yeah.
Yeah.
And Advance Wars DS. Advance Wars DS is supposed to be really good too. So that's it.
I'm gonna put an honorable mention for Diddy Kong Racing, but I know exactly why no one said it here is because a lot of the localization and the lack of banjo really almost hurt. Like honestly,
I didn't put it on for that reason. I actually think the DS
it's a
demake. Better. I think
it's a demake in a lot of senses. Like they got rid of banjo, they got rid of Conquer, and like I really didn't like.
I know we like Banjo and Conquer, but it was not a demake. It did improve on all of the systems. The reason we didn't mention it is because it's a N64 game. It's not
and Mario 64.
Yeah.
Even though I would argue that Mario 64 DS is different enough because they added all the minigame modes and those were really fun for a while. Like even
those were really fun.
Yeah,
you know what? That's another reason to like New Super Mario Bros. Because all those minigames too. New Super Mario Bros.
Yeah, I don't know, but I feel like Mario 64 had like it was still mostly Mario 64. Like 64 DS like added Yoshi and Luigi and Wario, but I don't know. Like it was.
It's okay.
I feel like
it's an honorable mention. We don't really need to explain why. That's okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so deliberation time.
No, I got honorable mentions.
Oh gosh, Jules. You got like 7 more picks than everyone.
So, that's because I clearly
played a
lot of DS. But so I also want to mention Digimon World Dawn and Dusk, which are the best Digimon RPGs, and the only reason I didn't try to nominate it is because while I think Digimon World Dawn and Dusk are better than a lot of the Pokemon games, it can't compete with what is the peak of Pokemon. So I didn't bother mentioning it. But those are really good Digimon games. There's a game called Lost Magic, which is another game that's like really great. I don't know who developed it, but it was just a game that I liked. Pokemon Black and White should get an honorable mention because while it can't really compete with Heart Gold and Platinum, in I think our collective opinion, it still was a very strong entry into the Pokemon series.
And by extension, Black 2, White 2.
Yes.
Yeah. And while we respect Joe, I think
still a good game.
Yeah, still a good game.
And then Scribblenauts, I thought I would mention too, because that's where it started, and it was a really fun, cool game. Again, like lent itself very well to the touchscreen. And Sonic Rush, a really great Sonic 2D platformer that introduced Blaze the Cat, and it actually was like a very solid game. Those are my honorable mentions.
Jules, what about Sonic? What's it called? Sonic Chronicles.
No. I like Sonic Chronicles, but it doesn't even deserve to be honorably mentioned.
I think with that, that's a good point now to go into our deliberation. So, I think I recorded all the games. So the games that have made our short list that now we're gonna have to whittle down are Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Pokemon Platinum, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time and Darkness, Kirby Squeak Squad, Mario Kart DS, Kirby's Canvas Curse, Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, Wario Master of Disguise, WarioWare Touched, Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks, Animal Crossing Wild World, New Super Mario Bros., Custom Robo Arena, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Professor Layton and the Curious Village, Rhythm Heaven, and The World Ends With You. So that's how many games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
games.
6, 7, 8, 9.
17.
Dang, 17. That might be our biggest short list.
No, we had
It's not
we had
really
a
a
20.
short list. I think
Do we have
Well,
that many for N64? We had
we
a lot.
might be able to whittle some down already.
Yeah.
So why don't we start, instead of saying what will stay, let's start making cases for what should go. Now I'm going to make the first case for what should go, because there was a statement that Matteo made it. There's a statement Matteo made earlier
yes.
that I fully disagree with, which was something along the lines of, the lows of Zelda were very low, but the highs were highs. I disagree. There were no highs for Zelda and DS. Spirit Tracks is good. That's it. It is good. It is not amazing. It is not even in the top half of Zelda games. And I genuinely believe, and this is the only Nintendo system that I would ever make this claim, Zelda has no right being on this list. Period.
And that's why I was just going to say, all you needed to say, Jules, was that, Matteo, you said Wario Master of Disguise and Spirit Tracks were honorable mentions that you just you pushed up. I'm fine with both of those being taken off.
Okay, we can take off Wario Master of Disguise and Spirit Tracks.
I
Yeah.
will say
Yeah.
I will say Wario Master of Disguise would have made my top 6, not my top 5.
It's a great game. Honestly.
It's
good.
really good. It is really, really good.
It's good. I don't think it's a bad game. I just, when I look at it, and we're talking about like the series, because you can't take it out of the context of its series. Like,
Yeah.
I really think in terms of Wario Land, it's one of the weaker ones.
But how dare people lump it in with like Donkey Kong Barrel Blast and like the worst Nintendo games of all time? Like, come on. It's not one of the worst Nintendo games of
No,
all
I
time.
disagree. It's not one of the worst. It's a
Yeah.
good game. It's just, again, it's one of the weaker Wario Land games. Like, but anyway, we should continue. Is there anything else that anybody thinks should be axed right away?
Honestly, as much as everyone likes Wild World, Jules, like I have
I'm
it on
okay.
my
Yeah,
I
it's
have it
okay.
on my honorable mentions just because every Animal Crossing built upon it. And
Yep,
now
I
we're
agree.
at the point where like we're at like the peak of Animal Crossing wasn't there. And we never actually owned Wild World. We just borrowed it from our cousin for a week. And it was really fun, don't get me wrong. But
I agree.
it yeah.
I agree. I agree with you, because it's one of those games like we've done in the past where it's like, what is the purpose of going back and playing that one? Is it
like
that
Smash
different
Bros.
now?
Yeah.
Right?
It's
Which
like all the old Smash Bros. Games, in my opinion.
which will
But
segue me into my next one, and I know this one's gonna hurt guys, but I don't think Mario Kart DS is in the top 5, just for the same reason that I feel that while I agree with everything you said, I do think it's like one of the last traditional ones. I do think it made some really great changes to the series. I still don't know what the purpose would be telling somebody now to go back and play that one when the experience is relatively the same and better now.
Yeah.
Just like I said with all the other Mario Karts, like I don't think any Mario Kart is really differentiated enough to go back and play an old one. So,
With the exception of 64.
yeah.
I would argue that the mission mode is good to go back and try to play, like especially for those like boss battles and things like that. Like it was a cool fusion between the like the battle mode gameplay that you would play in multiplayer with your friends locally or online for the first time, because it was like, you know, online for the first time in DS, but that online feature's been taken away also, so you're not getting the same game as you would have back then. I would argue that the mission mode is unique enough to go try out, but is it a sell for the entire game? I can agree with that.
yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's like it's definitely in my top 5, but I'm definitely in the minority in that. So
I really like it too, Matteo. But it's one of those things where it's just like Mario Kart is one of those games that like gets better with every subsequent entry, except for
no,
the
that's
Mario Kart GBA.
that is 100% false. That is 100% false, Gino. But
How? Mario Kart Wii was good. Mario Kart 7 was good. Mario Kart 8 was so much better.
no, I don't want to get into it, but I do not agree with that at all. But yeah, I'm fine with
we'll
DS.
keep it tentative. Let's keep it tentatively.
No, I'm
then.
fine with DS coming off if that's the way you guys think about it. So
No, I really like the all the modes and stuff, like the arcade mode that they added to it. Like the tracks and everything, don't get me wrong, are very, very good. But I feel like just the look of the look of the DS, Mario Kart is not aged well in the looks department. While a lot of these other games are mostly like pixel art and things like that, Mario Kart DS went into like that 3D kind of atmosphere, and it's kind of also why like Mario 64 DS it's a little rough around the edges just because of the art style and the way that
I guess I'll transition into New Super Mario Bros. Because like that is a huge reason why I don't like New Super Mario Bros. Is because of how bad the visuals are, and like the DS is between like an SNES and N64 in terms of graphical abilities, and like it that is like it just it I feel like I'm playing a blur when I'm playing certain games, and New Super Mario Bros. Is one of them. And the other thing with New Super Mario Bros. Is I just don't think like the power ups and stuff were that memorable in that game. Like Mini Mario is kind of lame in my opinion. And also like the majority of the time I put into that game wasn't actually playing the main game. It was playing the like the card games and the mini games and like stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I can those some of those games are unique to New Super Mario Bros. And by extension Super Mario 64 DS, but I can play a lot of those card games like on my Windows desktop. Like it's not that like there aren't as many really like ones that stand out in my eyes at least. But like and also I do think New Super Mario Bros. Did get better with at least with New Super Mario Bros. Wii and U. It's just those games. A lot of them came out within a very short period of time. But uh, I don't know. I think if you're gonna say the visual thing is something to knock Mario Kart DS about, then that can definitely be said about New Super Mario Bros.
do we want to have both Pokemon games on there? Or are we going to save that for later?
I think we'll talk about that after. I'm okay
Okay.
dropping New Super Mario Bros. Like I do think it's really good, but I don't know if it's one of the top 5 DS
Yeah.
games.
I like on my list. It's an honorable mention.
Fair enough. Okay, well, why don't we whittle down?
What's left? I've forgotten. I know we still have Layton. We have Ace Attorney. We have Rhythm Heaven.
World Ends With You,
Pokemon
Custom
games.
Robo, Warioware, Mario and Luigi, Bowser Inside Story, Kirby Canvas Curse, Kirby Squeak Squad, Mystery Dungeon, and then Platinum and Heart Gold Soul Silver.
Like the only games of what you just said that I've played were Pokemon, Squeak Squad, Bowser's Inside Story.
I'm fully aware.
Yeah, so I can't speak to any of those other games just because Pokemon just dominated everything on the DS for me.
I'm aware,
Yeah.
and that's valid.
There's a lot of
And
games though that I'm familiar with. Like I know the significance of Ace Attorney and Professor Layton and Rhythm Heaven. I know a lot. I know a lot about those games, or not a lot. I know of those games. So
Yeah, and like I know they're significant. I know Ace Attorney for sure is significant. I know. Layton, I know some people like Rhythm Heaven. I thought that was mostly just a game for like more it was more casual.
but to answer what you were saying before, are we just going to go with one Pokemon game? I think the only answer is yes. I don't think there should be 2 slots. I know Pokemon dominated this generation, but I'm sorry, Nintendo DS, especially after looking at this list, is one of the best gaming experiences, like period. I don't think like I love Pokemon and I know it's the strongest on DS. There should not be 2 Pokemon games on this list. You would be robbing so many unique, amazing games from, especially if we're recommending to people to go back and play that can only be played on DS. I really don't think 2 Pokemon games should be on here, unless it like maybe a Mystery Dungeon in one of the core ones, maybe, but definitely not 2 core.
yeah, it's a
Pokemon.
similar. Both of them are a similar experience, right?
Yeah.
We talked about in our breakdown at the very beginning of the game how like all the different things we're factoring in when we actually pick the game. So I have a question to ask you guys. I looked at the current price for Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and Platinum. Do you want the $200 Pokemon game or the $100 Pokemon game put on? Right?
No. But I think there's a very big difference when you're looking at a series. Like, so for example, it's different if we were talking GameCube and you're picking between things like Metroid Prime and Mario Party, which, while expensive, are widely available, versus something like Path of Radiance, which is both expensive and unavailable. I understand Heart Gold and Soul Silver and Platinum are expensive now, but they're very widely available. If you want them, you can find them, even though they're a bit pricey. They're also very, like, not that I'm condoning this, but they're also very emulatable. I don't think
Well,
we
let's
should
let's
be
let's take
factoring
this
in.
into let's take this into consideration. The Gen 4 remakes are coming out soon. So you're gonna have the Sinnoh experience in an affordable form very soon. Johto, on the other hand, you only have the traditional.
I think we
The
should,
traditional
for
one on
this
the
one,
3DS.
I don't think this should be a conversation here. I really think we should just deliberate which the best one is. I
I'm gonna
don't
say
think.
Heart Gold Soul Silver strictly because you have a buddy.
I mean, I also vouch for Heart Gold Soul Silver as my strongest Pokemon game.
I legitimately think, uh, like, I legitimately think Heart Gold and Soul Silver are the best Pokemon games ever
I
made.
do too.
So,
And this is the thing to remember is like Heart Gold Soul Silver, unlike Fire Red and Leaf Green, came after Platinum. So Heart Gold Soul
Mhm.
Silver are like what Emerald was. They are the peak of this generation. They take everything from the full generation and
for Gen
and
4, because there was other
yes,
Pokemon
Gen
games that
4.
came out after.
Yeah, for Gen 4, but they take that whole generation and like some of the things they add are really, really meaningful and great. And Gen 2 in general is just a really strong generation. There's so much to do.
It's Heart Gold. So Heart Gold Soul Silver is the one we're choosing, and it's going on the top
Yes.
5.
Yeah, it's going on.
All right. So that's our
So we
first.
can remove. Yep. So now we have what is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we need to pick 4 games. Now, another one I think we can just put on right now that I think we'll all agree with is Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story.
Yep.
I think
I
we
can
all
agree
had
with
a
that as well.
strong. We all
had a really good positive experience with this one.
Yes, I agree, and I think it's worth playing. And it's one of those titles that's just like it's tied to the DS. Like it's very much like one of those DS classics. Now,
I think it's still available on the 3DS eShop if that's still around.
Yep. 3DS
yes,
eShop's still on. Yep.
Yep. So you can get the new version of it with the extra minions and whatever.
Yeah.
But
Now
the main game is
here's
great.
maybe a bit of a controversial opinion as well, and I think you guys are going to be very opposed to this one, but I don't think a Kirby game should be on here. And the reason I think that is because I think one of the things that we as a group often do when we create these lists is we, especially because they're Nintendo systems, is we look at like, okay, what was the Kirby game? What was the Zelda game? What was the Mario game? And I think Kirby Squeak Squad and Canvas Curse, while both being strong games, are just the Kirby game of the DS. And I don't think either of them is one of the best games in the series. I personally don't. I can acknowledge Squeak Squad is one of my favorites, but I don't think it's even close to the like peak of Kirby. I don't think like Canvas Curse. I would argue for a little more because it's a bit more unique. But even then, I don't like looking at this list of games. Me personally, like I'm not gonna die on any hill for Canvas Curse.
I would argue that Squeak Squad did add a lot more to the combat of the game because, like, the next Kirby game after Squeak Squad was, oh gosh, what was it? Was it Triple Deluxe? And I know,
Mass
basic.
Attack came out next. Like core
Oh, okay,
series
then.
was NetMex was Mass Attack.
Mass
Oh,
Attack's
okay.
not a core series. Mass Attack's a spinoff.
Rhythm Heaven, though, just for whatever reason, isn't sitting well with me. But that's just me personally, right? Because I don't like those micro gamey kind of things. I don't think WarioWare should make it on this either.
And that one you're gonna. I think I will die for WarioWare Touch to be on
That's
this
what
list.
I was gonna say. I think only one of WarioWare and Rhythm Heaven should be on because they're very
Yeah, they're
similar
similar.
experiences. So
Because again, like I think for me, like looking at these series, it's like again, like I can acknowledge that like you guys had like a great experience with Kirby Squeak Squad and stuff, but it's like I still don't. I think like even you guys can acknowledge like Kirby Squeak Squad is not the best Kirby game even now.
Oh, it's not. I
Maybe
really
at the
liked it. That was
time it could have been, but but
I
now
think
probably
I
not.
still think it's my favorite. I think
Yeah,
it's the best 2D Kirby game, but
but favorite or
it,
best? Because like
but
those are two different things, right?
I think well I have both. I think it's both, but the thing I will say about it is there isn't anything necessarily unique that it does on DS. Like it doesn't do anything special with the hardware or anything. That's where Canvas Curse has the advantage on it. And like the touchscreen literally is just an inventory like menu. Like that's all it is. So
And ultimately, I guess that's why like I'm saying like I'll die for WarioWare is because WarioWare Touch is the best WarioWare game. Like it is peak. it has not gotten better. And if like you're going to play any WarioWare game, you should be playing that one.
I can respect that.
And like the thing with the DS is that in a lot of games, the touchscreen to me at least felt like it's a gimmick in a lot of games. But the games that don't
did it
make
well.
the touchscreen feel like a gimmick should be celebrated. And that's where WarioWare and Rhythm Heaven, stuff like that, really get respect from me.
Yes.
So,
And that's the way I'm looking at it too, is like if we're talking about like what to play on DS, I really think like games that use that hardware to its advantage just have a deeper appeal. Like we do have like Pokemon and Mario and Luigi are both games that don't really use the hardware to its advantage to the most part. Use it a little bit.
Hey, Mario and Luigi made you tilt the screen sideways.
Sure, to supplement the gameplay, but it's not like that's the gameplay, and that's good. There are games on on DS that like use that, but I also think DS had a lot of games that just use the touchscreen in a way that not only like enhanced the gameplay, but like was the gameplay. So I think WarioWare Touch is one of those games. WarioWare Touch is the kind of game that like Nintendo, I think, still hasn't figured it out, but they've tried to dive into mobile gaming. WarioWare is a game that would be perfect for mobile gaming, and the reason for that is because the microgames lend itself well to mobile gaming, as well as the fact that WarioWare Touched, using the touch screen for the microgames, that was the most successful gimmick they ever had. Better than the motion controls, better than the DIY gameplay. I'm willing to bet better than the gimmick that's going to be in the new one. Like I do think WarioWare Touched is like the definitive WarioWare game. Like I think even if you hate WarioWare, if you play that one, you'll like it because that one the micro games feel way more like immersive. So is that okay? Am I putting WarioWare?
Yeah.
On?
Okay,
yeah, I'm fine with that.
We got 3.
Okay. 3,
and by that logic, would Rhythm Heaven be off?
Rhythm Heaven is off. Yes.
Okay.
I will also take Custom Robo Arena off. I think it's a strong game. I don't think it's strong enough to be on this list.
What it comes down to now, Jules, is there's 4 games.
Is
2
there?
slots.
I thought we didn't take Kirby off.
No, I'm fine with taking the Kirby games off. Like,
yeah.
So
okay.
We got 4 games left. And there's only 2 slots to put on our list. And you're the only one that has actually played these 4 games.
No, I thought you guys have played Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
I've only played Blue Rescue Team. So
yeah, I have not played Time and Darkness or Sky. We haven't played them.
Well, if I'm going just based off of what I want to say.
And take into account list diversity as well.
Yes,
like
that's the thing. Is if I'm going based off what I want to say, it would be The World Ends With You and it would be Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Now, the reason I think that that shouldn't be the case is because we already have 2 RPGs, and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon and The World Ends With You, while being very different types of RPGs, are also some type of RPG. So having them both take, like, I think there's too much there. I do think there needs to be something else. So, I mean, you guys only know of Phoenix Wright and Professor Layton.
I know they're important.
They're very important. When you talk about the DS, my personal experience, I enjoyed Professor Layton more. That has always been my personal experience with those 2 games. Is I like Phoenix Wright. My issue with Phoenix Wright is that it is a digital novel. While there is that puzzle element, you are reading and you are having to be paying attention, and sometimes that's difficult to do. And the gameplay doesn't change, right? Like it's always similar things. Like you have one goal. Whereas with Professor Layton, there's a lot of diversity in the puzzles that are given to you. It's not just crack this case. It's not just look for evidence and find these clues. It's you need to unlock this lock. Here's a puzzle. And like some puzzles correspond to what's happening in the world, but some don't. But there's a lot of variety in there. And especially if you're somebody who likes puzzles, they're like some of them are really hard. Like some of them are like puzzles that you'll sit there for like half an hour, 45 minutes trying to figure it out. And when you do, it's so satisfying. So I would personally, if I was picking 2 of the games, personally, I think I would say it would be Professor Layton and The World Ends With You, because I think The World Ends With You should be on here. that's the game I like really, really want on this list because I
And
think
there's no
that
recency bias.
it's not recency bias though.
I
Because
know. I'm just having a little bit of fun.
it
I was
did.
actually going to say the world ends
You're
with you
right.
and Leighton also.
You are right though. Like I'm sure like me playing Neo The World Ends With You is influencing me a little, but when I was thinking about the DS essentials like even a couple months ago, I was always thinking like I hope I can get The World Ends With You onto the list. Because I do think it's one of those ones that is so incredible and I remember it like I remember it, even though that game was like didn't even sell well, it had such a cult following because everybody knew what it was. Because it was just like heavily critically acclaimed everywhere. And by the time I finally got to play it, I was like, I understand why now. It's really, really well done. So
Okay, I think that's the list.
okay,
Jules
So-
or Matteo, please
I can
recap.
read off the list. So
Okay.
we have Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Mario and Luigi, Bowser's Inside Story, WarioWare Touched, Professor Layton and the Curious Village, and The World Ends With You. Those are our 5 games that we have decided are the 5 essential DS games that we have played, or at least that Giuliano's played all of these. So
I have played all of
Jules, you're saying like, oh, the DS list is going to be so hard to make. I'm like, no, it's not. Gino and I literally have only played like
We
the
only played
DS out of
Pokemon.
all the Nintendo consoles we own. The DS is the smallest library, just because like I'm looking at my DS collection right now. It is half Pokemon. So
You know what the fun thing about all this is? I guess this wasn't just for the listeners. This list is for you guys too. Hop on
yeah,
it. Get to playing some
I-
Professor
I'm
Layton
fine.
and
Yep.
Hey,
WarioWare
if you guys-
Professor Layton.
guys want to
That's
play
my
The World
homework.
Ends With You. I got the Switch one. You guys can play
I don't know if I want to play that one.
Hey, it's really good. Really good.
Well, anyways, I think because we've been buying our time with the GBA and DS essentials because like we want to prolong the GameCube one as long as possible because we still don't really know how we're gonna approach it.
We also don't
the
know
D-
who's going to be in it.
Yeah, that's the thing. But
You know what? I think I have an idea. So like after we wrap things up here, I'm gonna share my idea with you
Yeah.
guys. I think I have an idea of how we should tackle this.
so, all right. Well, then we will close things off. So, thank you everyone for listening. Reminder, we are available on Spotify as well. So please, if you want to listen to us on the go and you don't want to be connected to the internet, download our podcast on Spotify. Give us a follow on there on YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment, all that. We'd like to know what you guys think. We got a lot of ideas that we really are excited about podcasts we're really excited about talking about in the future. I don't want to say them because we always say them at the end, but like,
Yeah.
just we got a good content plan coming out.
We
We
started
really
a new
appreciate you
Minecraft
guys.
series.
Yes, I was about to say, Gino, please.
Yeah, Adriano
Minecraft
and Sarah
series.
and I have started a new Minecraft Let's Play. If you're listening to us on Spotify, give us a check out on YouTube. Just because we just thought we'd try something a little bit different. Maybe we'll get Giancarlo and Joe in there also. Just having some good fun with Minecraft. We're playing a game in the 1.17 update, and just having a little bit of fun there. Don't know how long it'll last, but honestly, Minecraft is just good fun, and it's just a chill. We can be a little bit creative with it.
So
But
by
yeah.
the time this episode comes out, the Minecraft episode will already been out. It'll already been
Yeah.
uploaded. So check
Yeah.
that out. So anyways, once again, thanks everyone for listening. If you're a Gino fan, just disregard everything we said before.
Still
Can't
watch the
wait
Minecraft
for
stuff.
your hopes to be dashed on the Gino front. So anyways, guys, we'll see you next time for our series essentials for GameCube, and we'll see you when episode 27 comes out. So thanks again. Bye.
Yep.
Bye.